Hi, this is Johannes from JoboMusic, and this is Flexion, our first product. Flexion is a visual sound constructor. It's a synthesizer which is based on constructive synthesis, how we like to call it. And constructive synthesis means we have completely malleable wave shapes that can take any kind of form, and they can morph over time. And this concept can be used in many places. So maybe here I show just a little example. This is a sound we have. It also has visuals. As you can see, there's a backdrop of visuals. If I let it run, you can hear it's a crazy formant filter going on. If we look into the definition, we can see that the formant filter is actually built out of multiple peaks, and those peaks are moved independently by modulators, and this way we can hear this kind of like filtering going on. So maybe I'll just load an initial preset to show how the constructive synthesis works. I just loaded an initial preset here. So right now we have a sine wave, pretty much. And if I, for example, go into the definition of the sine wave, I can connect a cable into the control point of the sine wave. And this cable then can be used to modulate that control point. So right now I'm modulating the X position of that control point. And I can use, for example, an LFO in order to change the X position of the control point. I can also add more control points to make the shape a bit more complex. And as you can see, right now this one point is moving still. If I wanted to move all the other points as well, I can anchor it. Sorry, that was the wrong one. I can anchor it, and then it will move everything else with it. So this concept is being used everywhere. So right now we have an oscillator here. This oscillator is completely stereo, so you can have a separate version left and right and create some very broad and width sounds. We have two oscillators. We have a steps oscillator, which allows you to make more steppy shapes. We have a noise source. And we have modifiers, and those modifiers can, for example, be a skew waveform. With that skew waveform we can do phase distortion type of sounds, for example, like that. Or we can kind of like do frequency modulation by using the skew waveform here, which is also completely malleable like everything else, and you can modulate it over time and apply it to the oscillators that you're using in the sound selectively. And we can also use the same concept for filters. So here we have our filter, and we can, for example, build a very simple low-pass filter by doing something like that. Now we can move maybe I should have something more like a sawtooth wave. Here we actually have sub-presets. Use a sawtooth wave, and we can build a filter like that pretty quickly and pretty simply. We can add resonance, we can go as crazy as we want to. So this is the basic concept. It works in the constructor. It also works in the envelopes and the LFOs. So you can compose envelopes and LFOs that go do all the crazy madness that you like. And of course you can also just mimic all the normal shapes. So for example, here I loaded a classic ADSR, and this ADSR has attack, decay, sustain, release controls just as we know it, and we can just add stuff to it and make it more complex if we wanted. For example, this ADSR can optionally have a wiggle in the release phase. So if I have the wiggle amount up, you can see what's happening here. So you can add a wiggle to an ADSR or to do any kind of other stuff that you would like to. Same principle applies to the wave shaper, which is also completely malleable. You can make distortion effects with that. We have some common effects like delay, flanger, chorus, phaser, etc. And last but not least, we also have a reactor component. And this reactor can manifest itself in different ways. It's listening to whatever is happening in your constructor waveforms, and it creates decaying frequencies which put an atmosphere around it. So for example, we could have, this is an example patch here. You can probably see here this sound is composed of two elements. We have one element which is the constructive element, which you can hear. It just makes a sound which goes into the reactor, and the reactor then creates an atmosphere around it. And those atmospheres can get pretty deep. They can also be more percussive, like some kind of like frequency like an additive synthesizer almost. Or they can also create more an atmosphere, something like a resonating reverb type of sound. So you can use that in order to put your constructive sounds into more of a perspective and give it some more width. And it can also be used to create big atmospheres and ever-decaying sounds. And we have a preset browser, so you see like all these waveforms we make here, they can all be saved as their own sub-preset. Each sub-preset has its own set of tags that you can use. And each preset browser is online, so you can share whatever sub-presets you make to the clouds. And we can also make sub-presets on those levels here. And of course you can make presets on the entire level, on the full level. And for example, you can do some community work by loading sub-presets from somebody else, downloading sub-presets from somebody else, use them in your own patch, and then upload it as your own patch to get some to fill up the clouds with some very nice presets. The community can also rate the presets in the cloud, so you can find the nicest and best presets in the end. And we can, for example, also look for tags that the author said in the beginning, and also we can search for tags where the community is agreeing upon. And you can also search for similar presets in the cloud. So once you found a preset you like, you can try to find other presets you might like which are quite similar to that one. So Flexion is right now in early beta phase. We're starting the private beta now. We're looking for people that can contribute in beta testing. It can also put the first foot into the sound browser, upload some sounds, make some good sounds. If you're interested, you can go to www.jobomusic.com and apply for the private beta. And we're looking to come out with Flexion towards the end of the year. It's going to run in both Mac and OS X, Windows and OS X. And it'll be standalone, and it'll support all the major plugin formats to be used in a host application. And yeah, so probably you can go through a few more presets. So we have some of the bread and butter types presets. We can have some pretty big pads with a lot of stereo depth. You can see we have some visuals for most of the presets. Visuals are completely optional. You can turn them off if you don't want them. They don't use any CPU either. They're just on the GPU. So they can also be put on a separate window, and you can put it on another screen if you want to use it for live performance, for example. And you can have some pad type of sounds. And the visuals can also listen to the control input of your keyboard, for example. And we can have some, it allows to do a lot of different types of sounds, a lot of different types of presets and visuals. And you can really go deep, dive deep, and experiment. And just go through a few more. Yes, so yeah, if you're interested, please sign up for the newsletter or sign up for the beta. And we hope to come out soon. Thank you.